Tensura X Gate. Thus the JSDF fought their X How a Realist Hero Rebuild the Kingdom by NoruSensei. Chapter 1 Soma Kazuya Pov. This is a world filled with magic and fantastic creatures. If you're in the mood to fly, you can just hop on a wyvern. Hulking beasts of burden haul heavy wagons, and steel battleships set sail with the help of colossal sea dragons. There are no light bulbs, but lamps filled with glowing moss illuminate the streets at night, and fire magic can be found in the oven of any kitchen. In a world without modern science, the power of magic makes a great many things possible. On the other hand, if you look past the magic and exotic animals, this country is rather lacking in terms of technological advancement. It's a long way from an industrial revolution, and the society is still a feudal one. And now I find myself seated on its throne. After a short earthquake and that bright light shines, I looked into myself, looking at Lisha, who was looking at me with her face as red as a tomato. Then I realized I was covering her from the earthquake. In what way, you asked? I was above her. She was as usual shocked and flustered about it, but she thanked me later on. Now I am in the audience room sitting on the throne. Then there is that mage from the first day I was summoned here talk to me. A magic check? I asked the mage. According to the literature, heroes summoned from other worlds are sometimes imparted some sort of magic upon arriving in this world. The mage explained to me. In other words, we're going to see if I got any magic powers? I asked the mage. Hi, Your Majesty. Now let us go to a room where we will find what kind of magic you use, the mage said to me. I then followed this mage toward the room. Then when we entered inside, I found a structure there. Please touch it, Your Majesty. I walked near it and looked at the said structure. So I just have to touch this thing? I asked while I was scratching my head, then looked at him. Yes. If you gained any magical abilities, then their nature will become apparent in your mind's eye, the mage explained to me. Oh yeah? That's awfully user-friendly, I said, then walked towards the structure. I then touched its head. Suddenly it lit up. Then all of the magical information came to me close and enters my head. After a few minutes, I let go of the structure. How did it go? The mage asks me. Well, it looks like I can use magic now, I replied while my eyes closed. Oh, he replied. I then looked at my right hand. But what kind of use does magic like this even have? I said my thoughts out loud. Oh. Then I realized something. I think I know how to use this magic. Lisha Elfrienden POV. I was walking in the hallway going to Soma's office. When I reached the door, I first knocked on the door. Soma, I'm coming in. I said it as to notify Soma, then opened the door. When I opened the door, I was surprised to see inside that there are multiple ministers doing paperwork at each table, while Soma is there, also works hard as usual. What the? I thought while I was walking towards Soma while looking around. When I got in front of him, there you are, Lisha, Soma said to me as I stopped in front of him. I was still dumbfounded to see that many ministers are working with Soma. Then I saw 3 quills writing on their own. I was surprised to see it. So you're using magic to move those quills, right? I asked Soma while I looked at them with amazement. I guess that's one way to describe it. Anyhow, my ability lets me copy my consciousness into objects, and then freely control them. Oh, what I mean is, I'm not the one moving those quills over there. I projected copies of my mind that can act autonomously. I've named this power Living Poltergeist. He then looked at me with a troubled expression. Maybe a bit edgy, but hey, Soma said as he stops writing. I'm not sure what edge you're talking about, but that is some weird magic, I said to him with a half-deadpan expression. To be honest, I just don't know how to react to this. Yeah. Right now, I can only do it with 3 objects at a time, and it looks like my range isn't too great, either. He looks at it. Then when one of the quills is done writing, Soma grabbed the paper. With this power, then Soma divided the paper into 2 and started looking at them. Each projected consciousness can deal with multiple matters independently. In other words, Soma paused what he said. I gulped and repeated his words. In other words? I asked with a curious voice. It's super convenient for doing paperwork. So yeah, my productivity's gone way up with this ability. It saved me from getting buried under what would have been a mountain of paperwork, he concluded. I closed my eyes and sighed in defeat. Then I looked at the working ministers. Even so, it definitely looks to me like you're still plenty buried. What's all the fuss about, anyway? I asked Soma. We're digging up untapped money, he replied. Untapped money? I asked Soma again, then looked at him. More precisely, we're beating the bushes for unaccounted for expenditures. When comparing budgetary requests with financial statements, Soma then looks into 4 different papers to compare them. Even if the requested sum and the amount spent match up, if the itemized expenses exceed what was needed, it indicates wasted spending performed to use up the requested funds. Soma then puts the papers on top of the rest of both mountains of papers. It could be misappropriation disguised as spending. We're going over the records, and if we find any funny business, we'll demand reimbursement from the responsible parties. And if we come across any personal embezzlement, we'll issue an order to pay it back, on penalty of arrest and confiscation of property, Soma declared. But why go to such lengths? You sorted out the imperial tribute by selling the national treasures, right? I asked him. He then smiles at me and answered, yes. For the time being, I don't have to worry about getting turned over to the empire. But we can never have enough capital to get this country's economy back on track. The same goes for manpower, of course, he finished saying. Then I pointed at myself. Elisha Elfrenden POV. My husband and I are currently in our bedroom. Right now I am cleaning my husband's left ear as he is laying down on my lap. I wonder how Soma and Lisha are getting along. My husband Albert wonders about our daughter Lisha and Soma's relationship. Knowing those two, I'm sure they're doing just fine, I reassure my husband. You think so? Yeah, you're right, my husband said as I continued cleaning his ear. Soma Kazuya Pav. I'm currently still doing the paperwork since yesterday. Well, the moving quills helped me a lot, but there is just so much paperwork to finish. Right now I am getting sleepy and tired from writing and signing these documents. I stopped for a moment to see all of the ministers have fallen asleep. Some are snoring while they're sleeping. I then looked to my left to see Lisha was sleeping on the couch, with a mountain of paperwork on the table. I stood up from my desk and went near Lisha. She is beautiful, huh? I thought to myself, as I got close enough to her and hear her snoring a bit. I then sat on the edge of the couch to see her beautiful face more. I was mesmerized by her beauty. I leaned a bit and then pat her head. It was a mistake as she woke up from it. I panicked and then stood up in surprise. Lisha was flustered a bit, then sits on the couch. Oh, did I fall asleep? She asked me while still half asleep. Gee, good morning, Lisha. I greeted her while I was calming myself. Gee, good morning. Lisha was still half asleep when suddenly she went to the other side of the couch and asked. How long have you been standing there? Lisha asked me as she was bewildered and now widely awake. How long? I said, flustered, and looked away from her. I just barely got here, I nervously answered. What were you? Lisha asked in a flustered voice. Oh, I was just thinking. She sure is sleeping comfortably, I answered as I am still not looking at her. I can't just say I was mesmerized by her beauty now, can I? I thought. Hoog, Lisha said as she is getting red like a tomato. The work is all finished, I said while scratching the back of my head in embarrassment and still didn't look at her. I then reverted my eyes to her and asked, did you want to sleep a little longer? No, I'm fine. Lisha shakes her head. But what about you, Soma? She then looks at me. Judging by the way you look, you haven't slept at all, have you? Lisha asks me. She seems worried about me. I'm planning on getting plenty of sleep later, I said looking out the window. But would you care to join me for a little bit? I asked Lisha out for a short morning stroll. Huh? Right now? She asks. Yep, I nod my head. There's something I want to show you, I said to her in a serious expression. Atami UG POV. It's already been few hours have passed since we have arrived here at the special region. We were at our battle positions firing at the enemy who can't even get near to us. I am currently looking at the battlefield using my binoculars to scout. Earlier, after we wiped out the enemy, we have put out beard wires and a sign in their language saying, please do not go beyond this point. It is very dangerous, please go back. So far the enemy has no movement at the moment, so I just kept on looking and observing the battlefield with my binoculars. Third POV. At Sedaran Empire, capital city Sedara. There was an emperor named Moltsal Augustus. He is currently seating on the throne listening to his right man Marcus, who was giving a report. I suggest your majesty to summon all of the allied kingdom and fight the man in green to Alnus. Marcus suggested to the emperor. Very well, I will also send more troops to Alnus. Marcus, make a letter then write it that I need all of their troops with their leaders to go to Alnus Hill and recapture it from the enemy's hands. Molt ordered Marcus. Yes, your majesty. Marcus bowed then left the throne room. At the camp near Alnus Hill, there was a meeting ongoing by the different leaders from different countries. They are currently talking about whose army is going to attack. They are the Allied Army, also known as Allied Kingdoms. Army of United Kingdoms or the Coalition Army was an army consisting of regular Imperial Army troops, as well as leaves from vassal kingdoms of the Empire, including Alguna, Elbe, League Principality, Mudwin and 17 other kingdoms. The forces included Wyvern Riders, War Elephants, Goblins, Giant Orgs, and Magician. One of the leaders among them was named Duran. I will attack tomorrow. The King of Mudwin told everyone present in the meeting. Count me in. The Duke of League Principality Ligu also said. I might as well join you all, the King of Alguna said. How about you, Duran? Duke Ligu asked Duran. I think I will attack, not this time. The King of Elbe, Duran replied. Ha ha ha. I think you are getting senile, Duran. The King of Alguna said. The very next day they all started to attack the Alnus Hill. They have come across a sign but then just went over it and ignored it. Moments later they heard a sound of the winds. Duke of League Principality Pav. We were marching towards the enemy position who was at the hill. Look at them, we cannot even see their numbers. By the looks of it they don't even have that many troops. We overwhelmed then by numbers. We will win this battle and bring victory. I feel sorry ready for the King of Elbe, Duran, for missing this opportunity. I honestly said and smirked. Then suddenly we heard something. We looked at the sky and then the land have to been exploding below our feet. I stopped my horse and asked my men. What the hell is happening? But then there was an explosion below our position. None of us survived from this. The last moments I see were my whole body getting divided into pieces before I lose my consciousness. Duran Pav. We were just about to march out when the Alnus Hill seems to be erupting. Is the Alnus erupting? I said in dismay, as to see none of the army from the First Allied Army nor the Imperial Army were not to be found. Everyone retreat for now. I ordered my troops to retreat back to our camp. Now I am all alone in here. The rest were dead. Then I came up with a tactic. We will attack at night. Atami UG POV. Sir, the enemy seems to retreat, Kurata said to me. Let them be. I said to him. After we bombarded the enemy forces, they were once again wiped out. The upcoming army saw this, retreated. I just feel a bit bad for them, I thought to myself as I started cleaning my rifle. Third Pav. The army that retreated earlier then attacked at night. Good thing for them there is no moon for tonight, so it was a great opportunity to attack the enemy. Or so what it should be, but all of a sudden a light then brights up. They don't know what it is, but they know that the enemy must already knew about their plan. Duran, who was with them, ordered them to not walk silent anymore but to charge. But that was already too late. The SDF already opened fired at them and the tanks started firing. Shells and bullets were dropping at them. Duran, who cannot accept this, charge towards the enemy. Then we was thrown in the air as his horse hits the beard wire. When he stand up he said to himself, I will be satisfied with firing one shot of an arrow to the enemy. We cannot get near to it. He then resolves himself. He managed to aim and fired an arrow towards the enemy, but the moment he let go of the arrow, and shell landed next to him and exploded. It already managed to get his one arm and one leg. Lisha Elfrenden POV. We are currently on the way to the place Soma told me via horse. Guess who was driving it? Yes, it was me. Well, I can at least forgive him as he is holding me around my waist. But he is holding me so tight. Easy. Don't hold on to me so tight. I complained a bit to Soma. But deep inside I was so embarrassed that he was holding me tight. Yabe. What should I do? No, calm down, Lisha. You don't have to get that flustered. He is just holding on my waist just because he cannot ride a horse. Yes, there is nothing like a special meaning behind it. I thought to myself. Sorry, but this is pretty scary for me, he said in a sacred voice. You're pathetic. Shouldn't the man be up here holding the reins? I complained to him. What did you expect? I've never ridden a horse before, Soma said to me. Wait, he haven't ridden on a horse yet? So that means this is first time riding a horse? And it's with me? I thought to myself excitedly, but I contained myself. You haven't? I managed to ask him. In the world I came from, we had plenty of other handy vehicles, so we didn't need to ride horses, Soma said to me. Soma's world is interesting. I wanted to know more about it. The world you came from. I paused for a second. Hey, Soma. I called him. Yeah, what's up? He asked. Did you leave any family behind in your other world? Or, a girlfriend, or anything? I managed to say it normally. I at least wanted to know about it. If he said yes, especially to the girlfriend part, what should I do? His family is one thing, but if he has a girlfriend, I think to myself, and I was getting a bit down. Nope. He answered. My grandpa was the last of my relatives, and he passed before I came here. Oh. I shouldn't just asked him. Maybe I hurt him a bit. I need to comfort him a bit. I thought to myself. I'm sorry. I apologized to Soma. I looked down. There's nothing to apologize for. Grandpa lived a full life, so, you see. There's no one waiting for me to return, and I guess I'm in no hurry to go back right away, either, Soma said. Is that so? I smiled a bit, then we continued our journey. It was already morning when we arrived to the destination that Soma said. Stop here, he said. I then stopped the horse. We are currently right now at the cotton field. Soma first got off the horse and walked towards the cotton fields. I then followed soon after. It looks pretty, glistening with morning dew, I said as I looked into the cotton field. Pretty, you say? He commented. This isn't what you want to go show me, is it? I asked Soma. Yeah. These inedible fields are the reason for the country's food shortage, Soma said in a serious tone. Inedible fields? What do you mean by that? I asked to him. I mean, the name says it all. All of the fields stretched out before us are growing cotton, Soma answered. Ah, you're saying they're not food, I said as I realized what he was trying to say. Then we started walking around the field. To get right to the point, the country has run into a food shortage because there are too many cotton fields, he explained to me. Pardon? I managed to ask Soma. I didn't understand what he was trying to point out. Then we stopped and Soma turned his back to face me. It started with the expansion of the Demon Lord's domain. Up to that point, the northern countries produced lots of cotton, but the damage from monsters' attacks put a huge dent in their production. Soma paused and placed his hand at the back of his head. Come to think of it, it gets warmer the farther north you go in this world, huh? He asks. Is it different in your world? I asked curiously. In the country I came from, it was the opposite. Well, be that as it may, the drop in supply caused the purchase price of cotton to increase, and you could sell as much of it as you produced, so the farmers of the kingdom stopped growing the food crops that they had been raising, and everybody switched over to cotton. Soma explained. I was so speechless about this new information from Soma. A crop that you can't eat, but grow to sell someone else, is what's called a commercial crop. He then looks away. It's when the farmers all started growing commercial crops en masse that the country's food self-sufficiency declined. Soma finished to explain. And that caused our food shortages? I asked while looking at Soma. No, you can always import food from other countries if you're short, he answered. Right, and cotton sells for a higher price. We could just use that money to buy food, right? I asked. Right. But then cotton prices crashed, Soma answered. I was shocked at his answer. When other countries realized the potential for profit, they rushed to go get in on the action, and the global cotton supply outgrew demand. When that happened, the kingdom's reliance on cotton exports for revenue quickly backfired. Soma explains. Because we couldn't afford to keep importing all our food, I answered to him. Then he faced his back onto me. With fewer imports, the prices of domestic food distributed naturally skyrocketed, which has had a disproportionate impact on the lower classes. Then Soma looks at me. This is one of the major concerns currently undermining the country, he finally finished explaining. I then realized it, then looked down. I had no idea. How could I not know something like this? I'm a failure of a leader, I said in regret. Don't be so harsh on yourself. You can learn this kind of things as we go, Soma said to me as he got close. I then looked at his eyes. Then I realized something. Hang on, did you want to show this to me because? I asked, but before I could finish. Yeah. Someday, Lisha, you'll be in a position to lead this kingdom, he said to me as he again turned his back. So I wanted you to be aware of this stuff. That way, after I'm gone. I felt a bit sad when he says it like this. The country will still be in good hands. Soma then paused for a moment. I looked at his back as I was getting sad, imagining the day that Soma would soon abdicate the throne and give it to me. We came back from the cotton field. Currently we are eating at the well. At the cafeteria where all of us eats. But Soma shouldn't be here as he was the king of this country. We are eating together on the same table and the same food. The food we are eating right now are bread, soup and tea to drink. Our first step should be to regulate the planting of commercial crops and bring back the food crop fields, so that we can re-establish self-sufficiency, Soma said as I was taking a sip of the soup. The kingdom will provide subsidies to support the changeover. We should focus more on versatile core like soybeans and on crops that are robust against inclement weather, like potatoes. He finishes to explain as I look down on my food. Lisha, are you listening? Soma asks me, bringing me back to my senses. Huh? I suddenly looked at him. Yeah, I heard you, I replied. Sweeping agricultural reform doesn't happen overnight. So for the time being, all food, whether imported or domestically produced, will be purchased by the kingdom and sold to the people at a loss, he said as he got the bread and took a bite. Won't that put us in the red? I asked him. And I'd like to make up with our exports. Then he took another bite of his bread. But those cotton fields were our cash cows, so we'll need to find something to replace them. Soma then gulps down the bread and pointed a finger. That's said easier than done. And be all that as it may. I then looked away from him. You're supposed to be the king. Why are you eating in here? I finally managed to ask him that. I was then looking at our troops who were also currently eating with us. Soma then looks to the direction I am currently looking at. Don't worry about it. We're busy economizing the castle. Extravagant meals would be wasteful. Soma then looks back to me as he said that. Yeah, but still. I was about to say something when someone approached us. It's good to see you again, princess, the voice said to me. I looked at him. Or should I be addressing you as queen, now? The man who has a blonde hair and good looks said. Oh, that. Nothing's been. Soma, this is Sir Ludwin Arx, captain of the Royal Guard. I introduced him to Soma. Soma just smiled and introduced himself. Soma Kazuya. I'm sort of the country's acting sovereign. Soma looks at Sir Ludwin. Ludwin Arx. Your Majesty's job performance is the talk of the staff, he commented. Then give the staff a message. If you have time to chit-chat, you should be working harder, Soma says as he took a bite of his bread. Understood, sire. May I join you for breakfast? Sir Ludwin asked politely to Soma. Go right ahead. Soma gives his permission. As Soma gave his permission, Sir Ludwin placed his food and sat next to me, then he said. While I'm here, would it be all right if I asked you a question? Sir Ludwin asks Soma. I guess I can do my best to answer, Soma said as he looks to Sir Ludwin. Sire, are the reforms you are attempting to carry out proceeding smoothly? Sir Ludwin asked. I wish I could say they were. Our staff aren't making it easy. Aside from the Prime Minister, Marx, they're all pretty much worthless. Prime Minister Marx Pov. I was walking the corridor when I suddenly sneezed. AACCHOO. I sneezed loudly. I think that someone is talking about me. I then continued my walk, not thinking too much about it. Soma Kazuya Pov. I inherited all the senior officials from the previous king, and I hate to say it, but these people are the reason the kingdom ended up in its current state. I finished explaining to Ludwin. My ears are burning. Ludwin made a comment. Hold on, Soma. Lisha, who seems to be panicking, said. I then looked on my own food, then continued saying. Someone who will tell me what I want to know, and is willing to work on the things I want them to work on. I then looked to Ludwin, who was listening to me. That's the kind of retainer I want, I said as I continued eating. Lisha Elfrienden POV. After we ate breakfast we went back to the castle to have some tea outside to discuss more about it. As of right now I cannot believe what Soma just said. Use the crystal cast to recruit people. I asked him in surprise from what I just heard. Yeah. The crystal cast reaches all areas of the kingdom, right? Soma asks me. Why yes. As long as the reception environment is set up, anything spoken in the castle's crystal cast chamber will be heard throughout the kingdom. I explained to him. Then it's just the thing for making a widespread appeal to the people, Soma casually said. It's usually used for New Year's greetings from the king, or to issue important edicts and such. This will be the first time it's used for recruiting purposes, I added. How do you normally recruit people? Soma asks. Well, let's see. I paused for a second to think. We rely on the person's connections, or hold a written exam and recruit those who pass it. I answered his question. That sounds pretty biased, don't you think? What's the country's literacy rate, anyway? He asks again. Reading's somewhere around 50-50. Writing's roughly 30%, I think, I said in an unsure voice. And that's what you look for? Soma asked, then leaned on the table and pointed a finger at me saying. You can't just look at someone's ability to read and write to decide if they're right for a job. All that does is cut off 70% of your potential labor pool, Soma said in a scolding voice. How many diamonds in the rough are we going to leave undiscovered? He then asks me. I don't know how to answer that, I honestly said to Soma. Then we just stared at each other for a couple of seconds, then Soma closes his eyes. He then opens his eyes and started to speak. Well, once the financial situation stabilizes, we can solve that issue as time permits. But first, we have to do some more immediate recruiting, he said, then lean his back on the chair as he finished. What sort of people are you planning to get together? I asked Soma of what were his plan to recruit people. I've thought about what I'm going to say to recruit them. I'm really just borrowing the words of a hero I respect, though. A hero? I curiously asked. Yeah, Soma replied, then he continues. A cunning hero in tumultuous times, at that. Then Soma started to explain. The late Han dynasty, Cao Cao, who laid the foundation for Wei during the Three Kingdoms period, was dedicated to gathering skilled men under his command. Some said he had an obsession with collecting personnel. To further Cao Cao's widespread demand for talent, in the year 210, he issued his Order of Seeking Talents. Within it was a passage that has been spoken for generations since. That being, Third Pav, whatever your talent may be, we will put it to use, Soma, the new king of Elfrenden declared to his people via crystal cast. That's the new king? Some people asks. He looks so young, a woman commented. My people, this nation is facing an unprecedented crisis. Chronic food shortages, economic depression, an influx of refugees who have lost their homes to the demon realm. Each of these are grave afflictions that plague our kingdom. Moreover, there are those in our neighboring countries who seek to take advantage of us as we struggle. Third Pav. When faced with this situation, our former king found himself to be unfit for the task and entrusted our future affairs to me. In a world at peace, our former king was indeed worthy of the esteem of a great ruler. This, however, is an age of upheaval. The king to be sought during such times is not a noble saint, but a tenacious survivor. Such a ruler holds the power to ensure that your families and property remain safe and secure during these tribulations. That is why our former king chose me. Because in terms of tenacity alone, I am a superior leader. While Soma was giving a speech, 3 individuals will be later in front of him. One soon to be prime minister. The other one will be minister for food crisis. One will be his bodyguard. The other one will be his adoptive little sister. And finally a beautiful woman who will be one of the Lorelei. Or listening to his speech. I am currently spearheading a number of reforms. However, we are overwhelmingly short-handed for the task ahead. As such, I am here to recruit the talented among you. In an elf village, in these troubled times we find ourselves facing, our need is not for those who excel in peacetime matters, but for those who are far and away outstanding at one thing. The form that gift takes is unimportant. If you can say for certain that you are second to none at something, come and stand before me. Education, age, social standing, place of origin, race, and gender all matter not. It is irrelevant whether you can read or write, what wealth you have to your name, how fair your visage may be, or what skeletons you may have in your closet. I am the best there is at what I do. You will not find anyone better in all the land. If that is what you believe, then come and present yourself before me." While Soma was giving a speech, a certain elf then looks closely to the image that was being shown. Aden village. Some of you may be hesitating, wondering if your skill will actually be of any use. However, that is not your evaluation to make. I, the king, will determine whether our country can use your gift. I care not whether others dismiss your talent as worthless. Do not hesitate. Lisha Elfrienden POV. If a person's expertise is found to be useful to the country, I will afford you every courtesy and take you on as my retainer. Soma then paused and looked down. I then looked at him worried, but then he continued. And in case any of you are still having second thoughts, if you can demonstrate that your talent is without equal in all the kingdom, then in the name of the King of Elfrienden, I will issue you a certificate of peerlessness and grant you a monetary award, he declared to the people. I bet all of our citizens are now motivated, I thought to myself as I listened more to what Soma has to say. Does that give you a bit more incentive, my people? Soma put his right arm up as to lead the cheer of the people. I can hear the people cheering. No, it's just your imagination, Lisha, I thought to myself. And I just hold my head as I was having an headache from what Soma just said. I can't just bear what he just said. You may nominate yourself or someone else. Refer another and you will receive 30% of their award. You will be the ones who, in this time of crisis, will bring before me those who will not bring themselves. Also, if your talent involves being stronger than all others, or being the best singer, or some other competitive category, the candidates will be competing ahead of time, and we will select the top delegate, so bear that in mind, and with that, my specialists. Come to the capital, Parnam, to shake my hand. Then his speech came into an end. As the broadcast of the crystal cast is out, I asked Soma. What was that bit at the end? Just getting into the spirit of things, he proudly declared. I looked at him with a deadpan expression and said, "Now, look," is what I managed to say, but then Soma is silent. Soma Kazuya Pav. I sure hope I get a lot of the people I'm looking for. As all I thought while I was looking upwards, I am looking forward to this one. Aisha Udgard POV. I ready myself to go at the capital. I was about to leave and use my martial arts to have an audience the king directly and ask him to stop the illegal poaching to our home god-protected forest. I'm Aisha Udgard, part of Dark Elf race. ISM proud to my martial arts. I'll make sure I will have an audience with king. Then my dad then asked me, are you sure you will not change your mind? He looks at me worried. I'm sure, father, I said, then bid farewell. I then started my journey towards Parnam. Diablo Pav. Kufufufufu. This will be very interesting to report this at my mother. I thought to myself as I looked into the capital. I had some of underlings spread out to gather some information about this country. It seems that the new king was a summoned hero. The former king of this kingdom, Albert Elfrienden, abdicated the throne in support for the summoned hero and now King Soma Kazuya. From what my subordinates reported to me is that kid said about the country's finances. And as of right now he is recruiting people as his retainers. No discrimination in other terms. No matter what your social standing is nor you read and write. Kufufufu. Now I shall report this to Okawa-sama and get praised for my hard work. Rimuru Pav. I was currently seating on the dining table with Shuna and Chloe. As I was starting to eat, Diablo started the thought communication. Less than Okawa-sama, I have something interesting to report you. Greater than, he said it in a playful tone. Greater than, oh. What is it, Diablo? Less than, I asked. Donna-sama. Is there anything wrong? Shuna, who was eating next to me, saw me stop eating and worryingly asked. Chloe was also looked worried about me but just kept on eating as she trusted to leave it with Shuna. Ah no, it's nothing, Shuna. Diablo just came up with a report. I reassure Shuna and kissed her forehead. Greater than, you may go on now, Diablo. Less than, I gave my go signal. Less than, Kufufufufu. Currently I am observing a kingdom called Elfrienden. It was founded 500 years ago. It seems that the first hero summoned here is the one who founded the kingdom. Greater than. Less than master, about what Diablo said. More than 500 years ago, after the founding war, with both humans and non-humans participating in its founding under the first king, would be one of the few outside the Nothung Dragon Knight kingdom to become a dragon rider. By the time of the 12th king, the Grand Chaos Empire's expansionism caused concern in the kingdom, which also adopted expansionist policies. This era saw the Elfrieden kingdom annexing almost half of the territories of the kingdom of Amedonia, including the main grain-producing regions. As a result, Amedonia, which became a principality after the war, became bitter enemies with Elfrieden for decades. However, the rapid expansion exhausted the kingdom and the 12th king was assassinated by those unhappy with the situation. The sudden death of the 12th king sparked a succession crisis, and the three dukes which controlled the army, navy and the air force avoided involvement in the crisis, fearing a possible civil war. The bloody conflict resulted in the royal bloodline being nearly wiped out, with Elisha Elfrieden being the only survivor with a claim on the throne. Thus Elisha's husband Albert Elfrieden became the 13th king. King Albert was loved by the people, but he was also indecisive. Under his reign, nobles became more corrupt and the kingdom was facing a massive food crisis. In addition, the appearance of the demon lord's domain caused an influx of refugees from northern regions that were taken over by armies of demons. While the kingdom did not sign the Mankind Declaration, the Grand Chaos Empire demanded tribute to support the war effort against the demon forces. The empire demanded either funds or a hero in case of the kingdom succeeded in a hero summoning ritual. Unable to pay the demanded tribute, the kingdom attempted the hero summoning ritual and succeeded in summoning the now 14th king of Elfrieden, Soma Kazuya. Greater than Seal explained to me. I also didn't realize that Seal already activated my thought acceleration as she started to explain at least the history of Elfrieden kingdom. Greater than Seal, can you tell me more about Elfrieden? Less than I requested. Less than high. The Elfrieden kingdom was a nation of Landia that occupied the southeastern area of the continent and the only known kingdom with the knowledge of performing the hero summoning ritual. Landia is the name of the supercontinent. Greater than. Greater than I see, so they also have that spell. Less than I commented. Less than high, you are right, master. Now back to the subject. The kingdom was founded by the first hero king, who was a summoned hero, as a multiracial nation for humans and various races so that they could coexist, and it eventually became a powerful nation in the east. However, a period of political instability followed by increase in corruption and weakening leadership had caused the kingdom to decline until a hero summoning ritual succeeded in summoning Soma Kazuya. It was also said that the hero is the one who leads the revolutionary era. Greater than. Greater than revolutionary era. What do you mean here, Seal? Less than. Less than it basically means that the hero leads them to a new era that they wouldn't imagine happening. Like what you did, master. Greater than Seal then s mugs, as she proudly says. Like what I did, huh? I thought to myself. Greater than then basically this is their second time to summon a hero. And that specific reason is that they can't pay the tribute to this empire called Grand Chaos Empire. Less than I told Seal my hypothesis. Less than as expected of master. You already have the basis of it. The capital city of Elfrieden was called Parnum. I also already analyzed the spell they used. Greater than. Greater than for now, hold for it, Seal. I want to know their politics. Less than. Less than as you wish, master. The Elfrieden kingdom was an absolute monarchy ruled by a king. While an elected body known as the Congress of the People, consisting of representatives elected by the vote of citizens, exists, it has no power other than to draft suggestions which would be presented to the king by the prime minister. Greater than. Oh, they also have a prime minister, huh? I asked myself. Less than the political hierarchy of the kingdom follows a feudal system. The commoners paid taxes to their lords, who are in turn responsible for protecting their lives and property, while the lords paid taxes to the king and serves in the military in times of crisis in return for protection from the king. The lords, consisting of nobles and knights who owned lands, had a number of rights within their lands as well as various responsibilities to the kingdom. Their titles and lands are mostly hereditary, but distinguished commoners can be elevated as nobles or knights by the kingdom based on accomplishments in administration or warfare, respectively. Further, it is also possible to marry into nobility. Nobles can also be demoted to being commoners or even slaves, and in certain cases entire houses be destroyed if they were found to have committed grievous crimes. Greater than. As expected, they also have some slavery in there. It is almost just like those typical mangas I read in the fantasy world, like this, I thought. Less than the three dukes stand apart from the rest of the lords with significant powers as well as control over the military. The three dukes are non-humans, each responsible for one of the three duchies, which are given self-rule for swearing fealty to the kingdom. The dukes of the Walter, Carmen and Vargas duchies control the army, navy and the air force respectively. The system was placed so that in case the human king became a tyrant, non-humans will not be oppressed and the king would easily replaced. Greater than three dukes. So you are saying that the king of Elfrenden doesn't have the control of the kingdom's army, navy, and air force, so that if the king has a hatred to the non-humans, then those three dukes will oppress that said king and replace him? Less than I asked Seal. Less than yes. You are correct, master. Greater than, they are not wrong there, but that is the main weakness of the kingdom's forces. They can't cooperate that much when the war comes. I thought to myself. Then, as if she is listening to my thoughts, Seal answered. Less than that is currently not possible, master. All of the human and non-human nations are currently facing a war against the monsters. Those monsters are under the demon lord's domain. As of the current, all of the human nations with the exceptions of Elfrenden, they have signed what they called Mankind Declaration Treaty. This is basically to greater than a treaty where all of the human nations do not attack, illegally invade the lands of each other. Let me guess, Seal, they have 3 rules to that treaty, correct? Less than I cut off Seal as I already knew what is she going to say next. Less than HMPH, I know master can easily know about this, but please let me finish. Please don't mind, I just said. It was just your imagination. Greater than Seal at first said it in an annoyed tone, but then she brushes it off like it didn't happen. No, Seal. How can I not mind about it? I retorted in my thoughts. Less than yes, you are correct, master. In the treaty there are 3 clauses. Clause 1. Any border changes due to military action by any kingdom are not acknowledged. In short, should any of the members of the treaty try to annex or capture each other's territories, then it will lead to military intervention by the Grand Chaos Empire to return the borders back to their original positions. This does not include any previous changes in borders before the treaty, such as Amidonia's loss of territory 50 years prior to signing. The idea behind this clause is to keep the nations united against the Demon Lord. Clause 2. Every citizen within each kingdom shall have equal rights and the kingdoms shall respect their individual freedoms. This clause is to show that the empire will respect the wishes of the signatory nations. Clause 3. All kingdoms which are far away from the Demon King's territory shall work as support for the kingdoms that protect them, which are located near the Demon King's territory. If the kingdom cannot pay the war tribute, it can summon a hero and hand him over to the empire. As such, the one who created it was the Empress of Grand Chaos Empire named Maria Euphoria. Greater than Seal explains. So it is similar to the United Nations or NATO back on Earth. I said the hypothesis, I concluded to myself. Greater than okay, thank you for the information, Seal. This would be enough information for now. Less than I thanked Seal, who was working hard for my sake. Less than there is no need to thank me, master, I'm just following what you desire. Greater than she said happily. I then stopped the thought acceleration and returned it to normal. Less than as of right now the king of Elfrenden just changed a week ago, greater than Diablo reported. Greater than, and his name is Soma Kazuya, right? Less than I finished. Less than hi Oka Asama. Greater than Diablo shattered a bit. Greater than get straight to the point, Diablo. Less than I ordered him. Less than well. This new king had said something interesting earlier. Greater than Diablo lost his composure. Diablo then told me what happened earlier, from this new hero king Soma Kazuya. Currently he is reforming his kingdom's policy and the way it spends their budget, and currently recruiting more retainers under him. In these troubled times we find ourselves facing, our need is not for those who excel in peacetime matters, but for those who are far and away outstanding at one thing. The form that gift takes is unimportant. If you can say for certain that you are second to none at something, come and stand before me. Education, age, social standing, place of origin, race, and gender all matter not. It is irrelevant whether you can read or write, what wealth you have to your name, how fair your visage may be, or what skeletons you may have in your closet. I am the best there is at what I do. You will not find anyone better in all the land. If that is what you believe, then come and present yourself before me. That is not a bad speech to give to his people. I thought myself in amazement from what Soma-kun said to his people. Greater than now, who are these three dukes of Elfrenden Kingdom? Less than, I asked Diablo. Less than, the three dukes are Georg Carmen, Duke of Carmen Duchy. Its capital city is called Randall. Georg Carmen is the kingdom's land army general. Castor Vargas, Duke of Vargas Duchy. Its capital is called Red Dragon City. Castor Vargas is the general of the kingdom's air force. Lastly is Excel Walter. She is the Duchess of Walter Duchy. Its capital city is called Lagoon City. She is also the admiral of the kingdom's navy. Greater than Diablo answered my question. Less than Georg Carmen is a lion beast man. Castor Vargas is a dragonute like Gabiru and the others. And finally Excel Walter is a sea serpent. Also master, Excel Walter is one of your daughters. Greater than Seal added some more information. Greater than wait huh? How did Excel Walter became my daughter? And also what do you mean? I have more. Less than I panicked. Less than calm down master, let me explain. 78 years ago when you became a true deity. It also means you were omnipotence and omniscience. Since you became as the first dragon before Veldanava Sama, you are also counted as the mother of all the subdragon races, all demons, elves and other races. But as siblings to the other true dragons. Also since the other two worlds merged into us, it was already rewritten by in the books to adjust Master's history. In other words Master, you already became the truth, the destiny, fate and the true ancestor itself for the other two worlds also. Greater than Seal explains. Greater than okay for now I don't want to think about it. Oh I know, how about I visit them tomorrow? Less than I suggested to Seal. Less than no problem to that master, the humans and some other races already forgot your myth. But as for Excel Walter she doesn't forget nor quite remember the exact myth anymore. Greater than Seal then said to me. Now I have a myth. Where did that came from? Ah that's right, I already become the true omniscience and omnipotence anyway. I thought to myself as I surrender. Greater than okay then. Thanks again Seal. Less than I thanked her happily. Less than praise me more master. Greater than Seal replied as I ignored it. Don't worry, it was just 3 seconds had already passed since Diablo's report. I made sure that I had thought acceleration activated. Greater than this is quite an interesting report Diablo. Less than I praised him. Less than oh, no I am not worthy of your high praises Okawa-sama. Greater than Diablo said happily as he tries to hide that fact. Greater than Diablo, since this was so interesting I will go there directly later on. Less than I told him. Less than are you sure Okawa-sama? Greater than Diablo worryingly asked me. Greater than yes I am sure. Less than I reassure him. Greater than I am also looking fun for myself. And I wanted to play a bit. Less than I added. Less than I understand Okawa-sama. Greater than I then said to the rest of my subordinates, Shuna and Chloe, that I am about to visit the other continent, I mean the supercontinent, via thought communication. At first they didn't like the idea but gave in at the end, especially Shuna who was worried. I then teleported to where Diablo is currently and looked at the surroundings. It is very beautiful huh? Well, let's have fun shall we? I thought to myself as I smiled widely as I looked at the city in view.